So it's been a little over 4 weeks since I had my abdominoplasty, my tummy tuck, and man, it has been a very intense process. I wanted to make a video that talks over the entire timeline, as well as really the problems that I've had, the environment that I've had, the progress that I've had, and how I've basically made all of the decisions that I've made. So the way this video is going to go is I'll walk you through day by day by day. First 4 to 5 days will be day by day, and then after we'll skip forward to a week, and then we'll kind of cover week 2 to 3, and then week 4. After that, I'll go into a couple questions and a couple thoughts kind of about the mental versus physical journey after. Some things about general anesthetic that I think are very important for you to know, as well as the choices that I made when it came to where I had my surgery and the things that you should know about that, okay? So without that being said, I think that we should just jump into it. But before we do that, I want to give you a quick overview of where it is that I started inside of my journey. So with that being said, this was a weight loss journey that I took at the beginning of the year. And this was probably back in like February on the left, and on the right here that you're now seeing, this is where I was by about April. And this is as good as I have ever looked in my entire life. You can see that I basically got some very good definition of my top 2 abs, my next set of abs, and then in my third set of abs there, basically, if you want to call it that, right there would be my 6-pack. I probably have an 8-pack underneath that bad boy, but the skin was just an issue, and this has been an issue for 15 years of my life. I've never been quite that lean before, but at the same time, I have always had loose skin, and it has gotten a little bit better, but it has never gotten better than that. And I had in the past spent a couple $1,000s on skin treatments, with RF frequency, a whole bunch of non-invasive stuff. I tried it, and nothing was working. I tried every other opportunity. At the end of the video, maybe I'll get into some thoughts about why I did it, and some of the aspects there that for some of you want to know. But let's carry on for now. Okay. So let's go through the first couple days of the environment. So on day 0, I believe this was September 17th. It was a Tuesday. I had my surgery at 7 a.m. And when I got there, I was extremely nervous. I was so nervous that in pre-op, I said to my doctor, I was trying to be brave, but I said to him, I'm like, I am so scared. I'm scared about how it's going to be after. I'm scared of the pain. I'm scared of what surgery is going to be like, if I'm going to feel something. And he, was very polite and basically told me not to worry, that he does this every single day. Was very reassuring. And then, after he left, a nurse came over and kind of gave me some preoperative medicine. That was the last thing that I remember. I don't even remember getting wheeled in. So, I later asked them a question, and I'll tell that story when I kind of get to day 1. But I didn't remember anything. I woke up in the ER, which is apparently very common with, general anesthetic. I completely don't remember anything. Not in the ER, in the post-operative room. And I was confused. I had no idea what was going on. And it was a blink of an eye. But I probably woke up around 2 a.m. So I woke up about, 6 to 7 hours later, which is about the amount of time. And really quickly, I got a tummy tuck. I got basically some liposuction on my flanks and back, as well as something called J-plasma. J-plasma I got on my back and sides, which is another form of liposuction that basically also tightens the skin out, which is very cool. So anyways, to get back into it, that day was very strange and kooky. My friend came to visit me, was there probably like 1 to 2 hours. I can't remember hardly anything from that day. I was so out of it. I was zoned. In fact, I think that they probably they didn't overdrug me, but I do think that I'm very sensitive to medication, and they definitely took liberties with me being about 190, 200 pounds. So, I wasn't in pain that day, but I could not rest. I had tubes, my drains. I had a drip going into my arm. They were monitoring my heart rate, all these things. Nothing extreme, but I just could not rest. And also, my hands were numb. Like just my one hand, my 3 fingers, I should say. And that was numb. I didn't know why, but I asked the doctor, and she said it was normal after surgery. Sometimes it's the position that they put you in order to do liposuction, but I didn't have an answer. But I was kind of concerned, and it wasn't painful, but but was not comfortable at all. But that day, they wanted me to go to the bathroom and start walking immediately. I could not go to the bathroom to urinate or anything until about 11 p.m. And, when I got up to it, to go to the bathroom, they saw that I had not soiled the bed, but that the bed was filled with my bodily liquid. Basically like a mix of blood and post-operative liquids, because from my back where there was liposuction, all of that was draining. And what we discovered is that basically we'll talk about that in day one, but my drain wasn't connected. It wasn't leaking the fluid through my drain. So basically it was not functioning. And because of that, when I went up to the bathroom, I also had to shower, which was a very hard experience, being drugged up and also not mobile, a whole bunch of things. Very, very rough night though. I could not really sleep. I probably got 3 hours of rest. I kept on having to get medication. I had everything on me. I couldn't find anywhere that was comfortable. And oh my God, my upper back hurt like a absolute bee stinger. My upper back in between my shoulder blades was so painful. In fact, to this day, after a month, that was the most painful thing about this entire process. Was for about 3 days, maybe 4 days, I had an extreme pain in between my shoulder blades. And that could be from all of the inflammation and swelling from, the liposuction, from everything. I think also the doctor did some liposuction in my upper back, which I wasn't expecting, but oh my God, it was so painful. It was so painful. All right, let's move in to day one. So basically the night finishes. I know that I'm supposed to go home this day. I didn't really sleep much and I wanted to get out of the hospital so bad. I just could not rest. I did not feel comfortable in the bed. I didn't want to be there. But, I was about to leave probably like 2 p.m. That was when I was to leave. So my doctor comes back in to visit me and see how I'm doing. And this is when, he tells me what happened the first day, right? So I was just like, I don't even remember going into the surgery room. And he said, yeah, we saw you were really nervous. So we gave you a little extra something before surgery. So that's why I totally don't even remember going into the operative room. But that first day, right? So I hired a nurse to take care of me for 24 hours, maybe more, but she showed up at the hospital, but I didn't really know what was 100% going on, and I could not for the life of me speak Spanish. I am in Colombia, which I'll talk about later, but I could not speak Spanish. My brain was an absolute mess. We'll also talk about that later. But I was able to walk. I was able to walk out to the car. I was able to walk up to my apartment and actually go up my stairs to my bedroom. But I was fairly mobile, and it didn't hurt me to walk, but it wasn't exactly easy either. The doctor also took my drain out that day. So I basically from day one was drainless. I didn't have to deal with any of that some people do. But during that day, I didn't eat hardly anything, although they kept telling me I needed to eat. I had no hunger. I didn't go to the bathroom. And I think like the thing that was hardest, like to be very frank with you, once again, was my upper back pain. I had such a locked back that it was insane. It was so hard to deal with. I was in excruciating pain. And, the doctor did give me a muscle relaxer to take home. And I was taking it, but it still didn't quite do it. I was rolling. I bought a baseball because I just, something told me to get me a baseball to like roll out after surgery. I was rolling on that thing like every 30 minutes, and obviously getting up to walk, which is something that you need to do. And because that actually helps stop, things like clots. So very important that you walk. But that was my first day. I didn't once again really sleep all that much that night. So some people, they sleep a lot after their surgery. I was not able to sleep. That was a consistent struggle for me, which you'll hear. Day two started, and I had my first massage. I was getting a lymphatic massage. I had an amazing woman that was giving me lymphatic massages, and she gave me one every single day for about 3 weeks after this day. It was similar to the first day. It was kind of more of the same, although it did feel more comfortable. I spent most of the the day kind of in a chair, sitting upright, playing video games. I was walking around a little bit, my apartment, went outside for, a quick like stroll, maybe, 50 meters in total every so often. I wasn't eating much, didn't go to the bathroom. It was very, very similar, but I felt good enough that I was like, I need to start weaning off of medication. Like I want to get off of opioids as quick as possible. So I started weaning down on my own volition. And I wasn't in a lot of pain. But keep in mind that like things like coughing, flexing of the abs did not feel good. But the funny thing is that, I did not have a tummy tuck with a muscle repair. That's very important to know. And, you need to augment your expectations. If you are, muscle repair is much harder. Okay, getting into day 4. Day 4 was my first doctor appointment, and I got to see what I looked like. So now I will show you that. So this right here was my day 4 appointment. Let's see. Okay, so this was my day 4 appointment, what I looked. As you can see, this was right before. I have this bandage on my hip, and that's where the drain was supposed to be. But, there was nothing there, so they wanted to put that just in case it was draining. But nothing actually did drain from it. So we moved forward, and this was the next day. This was actually right after I saw my doctor, I believe. So I'll move that right there. And you can kind of see what's going on in terms of there wasn't much for bruising at this moment, and it doesn't look like I'm super swollen, but oh my God, I did feel swollen. And we'll talk about like some of the mental stuff that comes after. But I had my first appointment, I had a gauze change, which you can see, right? I don't have that thing on the hip anymore. I'm just using the gauze. And I was able to walk maybe a couple 100 meters. But honestly, day 4 was when things started to get not worse, but not because I was super swollen, and I could definitely feel it. Like, it doesn't look like it in these pictures like I'm super swollen, but all of this is like rock hard, rock freaking hard. And couldn't sleep. It's uncomfortable to sleep. It's so uncomfortable to sleep because, well, maybe I'll discuss that stuff at the end of the video, so that way you guys can find it. But the most painful thing was actually the liposuction on my back. That's the most painful thing that I had to deal with. It wasn't the tummy tuck, it was my back, which I'll explain later. So this right here is a couple days further now. This is the 22nd, which would put us at almost a week out. Now, if you look right here, there isn't that much difference, and I actually would say that there potentially is more swelling going on inside of this area right here. I think that there was more. Like, it kept on getting worse from day 4 to maybe 8. Day 4 to 8 was probably the hardest of the journey, just because like this was feeling so swollen, and I was really tired because I wasn't sleeping. A lot of reasons, like it just was not. This is the same day, and I don't know if you can see. So if we look at the difference between this right here and this, I think I was getting more swollen. Although there was a little bit of lines here, like you could see my rib. I felt so swollen everywhere. It was very, very difficult to manage. Now, around this time is when I actually had my first attempt at an aspiration of a seroma. So around that time, the doctor saw with ultrasound. He was giving me an ultrasound every appointment that I went, and I was seeing him pretty much twice a week. I was seeing him on like Tuesday or Monday, and then on Friday, which was awesome. So many people don't get that. He would do an ultrasound, and he would check to see if there's any fluid building inside of my body. And there was some things that we saw that it looked like there was some fluid buildup. For example, if we go back to this picture right here, he thought that right here that there was probably a seroma that was developing. You could see on that ultrasound there was a pocket of liquid, and in about a week he tried to aspirate it for the first time, maybe 10 days, and just could not get it. It was like a hard liquid, or a hard substance, and that one continually was unable to be aspirated to this day. It was very, very liquidy, or excuse me, there was not a lot of liquid to it, and now my body is just absorbing it. But let's get into week kind of 1 through. So First off, with this entire process, I was getting lymphatic massages every single day, and the lady, she was so sweet, she was awesome. And I have to say, the lymphatic massages were so helpful in draining my body of liquids, but they were they were usually an hour to an hour and a half long every single day, which once again, we'll talk about why in Colombia I had, because to get that done in the US, it would have cost thousands of dollars just alone for that. Way more in Colombia. Quality of service is very high. But I was getting a massage every single day. It was so painful. She would massage my front, which is not super painful because when you get a tummy tuck, it's funny. Like it removes they cut your nerves. You can't feel it. But in the back, which is where I had my liposuction and where she was draining a lot of liquid, holy smokes. To me, that feels a lot like, it was like having a sunburn on your skin, having your muscles being bruised, and then like a third thing, which is like this melty feeling inside your body, like in between your skin and your muscle. Not something that I recommend. And, she's applying pressure onto the skin and to the area to remove the liquid. And what I want to mention about this period of time is that, they usually say that like your liquid production, like if you have drains, they usually come out like 7 to 10 days or something like that. I kept producing a ton of liquid from my back. Like it was just draining crazy for the better part of 3 weeks. Like right before I took off for Argentina at the 3rd week mark, I started to produce less to the point where it was just like, okay, I actually don't need massages anymore to manage this, to get the liquid out. But I was producing so much liquid every single day. Like it was crazy how I was producing. And I was a little worried about that because I knew like the 3rd week point, I was going to be traveling. It was supposed to be 4 weeks, but I had to wait a week to get my surgery because my blood coagulation levels were a little bit, it was taking too long. But let's talk about week 1 to 3. So I started to develop a seroma around 10 to 14 days out, but it wasn't this area right here that we were talking about. It was actually over in here where my drain was. It was also right here down at the base. Let's see if I can move forward. Actually, let's go through a couple pictures. So this is the 22nd. So this is getting around roughly 2 weeks. So let's see, the 28th would be 2 weeks. So all these pictures are in between 2 weeks, one to 2 weeks right here. As you can see real quick though, I started to bruise like absolute crazy. When? Well, about 10 days out is when it really started, as you can see. And you can see right here that I started to have like these little they call them dog ears when it's done incorrectly. This right here is just liquid. But, and this right here, I had to wear this thing right here because this was where one of the drains was for my liposuction, like where the liquid was draining, and I would just like bleed out of it, but liquid and blood and all that kind of stuff. So we're getting about 2 weeks out here, and I had so much freaking bruising. It was crazy, and not comfortable. So about week 1, 2, 3, I had that seroma released, and I was getting it aspirated every basically 3 days, sometimes every 2 days. And it started at maybe about 60 milliliters. It started at about maybe 60 cc's, same as milliliters, and decreased to about 20-ish every couple days. By week really 2.53, like right before, the doctor injected a medicine to basically kind of dry it out. This is not the correct way to say it, but essentially to stop liquid production inside of that area. And ever since then, I haven't had any issues. There's no liquid that's being produced inside of my body, which was awesome. That being said, week 2 to 3 or week 1 to 3 was extremely tough, because during this time, I was pretty much all alone in Colombia. I had a friend or two, but I didn't really see them, like maybe for dinner, like once a week. But besides that, I was in my house all the time, and I was alone all the time. And I couldn't go to the gym, and I couldn't do anything. I wasn't supposed to walk really at all. It was very, very, which we'll talk about that journey a little bit later, but I was very pressed during this period of time, and having some serious regrets about doing it. I knew that it was going to pay off later, but it seemed like this process was going to take forever. The time was passing super slow because I was so isolated. And that's probably like one of the hardest things about this is the isolation, especially if you don't have some other people. And I was continuing to not really sleep well. I was talking to my doctor about this. So I started taking, I think it's something called Isoklon, and it's an anti-insomnia medication. And I took that, and during this period of time, like after he gave it to me, I was taking a full pill, and I just started to feel like numb, like just nothing mattered, which isn't really depression, but it just felt like I was completely numbed out, and I did not feel good. There was like 4 days where I just exist, really. And people don't really talk about it. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. I've got a section for it, so let's keep on. So I want to show you guys a couple pictures up until today. So this would be October 5th, so that's about a week ago. So you can see, things are calming down. The bruising is calming down, which is good. You can see that I am starting to not have to wear gauze anymore, which is great. And also, like, hey, things are coming together. We can see here that I have a little less bruising, and also a little less swelling, right? And things are starting to get a little bit better. This was on October 7th, so that's go. And then this right here is about 5 days ago. And you can see that once again, things are starting to like really calm down inside of this area. We can start to see that I have my whatever you call these, my hip areas, that there's those lines right there. You can start to see a little bit more of these lines being chiseled in. And overall, things are calming down. I don't think I have any more pictures after this right here. And that was about 5 days ago. Things are better now. So what happened after about week 3-ish? Well, I moved to Buenos Aires, which going to the airport was a very difficult, not super difficult, but it was just draining. It was a 7-hour flight, and going to the airport, getting all of my stuff out of the airport, all of the luggage, like it wasn't the most comfortable thing. And I was also wearing a faja, which we'll talk about later, which is a compression garment. Not fun and not easy. It's also super tight, and when you're swelling, it's like bleh. So once I got to Buenos Aires, my first day here, I walked about 30 minutes. I was taking a Spanish class in person, and I walked 2 and then walked back, and it was pretty draining to walk 30 minutes or a total of about an hour that day. It felt good to do it, but also it was pretty demoralizing. The doctor was telling me about this time that I could start working out, but I honestly was pretty not depressed, but I was feeling a little bit unmotivated with how even walking was difficult. So I held off for about it. And now, we're at week 4.5, but at starting a week 4, I started to go on walking tours nearly every single day. And I probably walked about, in the past week, I've walked about 5-ish plus miles, 5 to 8 miles a day. Just doing walking tours, going around the city. And that's been my main form of exercise, which has been awesome. And during that process, I've gone from, I've been able to be pretty much upright, but at the same exact time, I've slightly been tucking my hips and also can't fully erect my back because the skin is so tight. But it's not just skin, it's also something else. It's like something between my skin and muscle feels really tight. It's really strained. And it feels like it's a mix of having to stretch it, but also like that maybe they're a little bound, if that makes sense. So I have made it almost like my daily progress to just be upright and as much stretched as I possibly can every single day. So that's what I focused on through like 3 to 4. And about 4.5 right now. I've done 2 workouts. I did some arms, I did some chest, some tricep, a little bit of that stuff in the past 2 days. And today I jogged basically like 150 meters. My first time jogging, and I'm starting to wean down on the sleep medication, all that kind of stuff. So things are getting better. But it's also, I've recognized something like this is going to be it's going to be a process to get back not only to where I was, but before where I was, to be better. So let's start physically. This right here, I want to talk about what I've realized about the physical side. So number one, it's going to take a while to get my results. Didn't really think through all of this kind of stuff, I think, before the surgery. I thought, within maybe a month, I would be looking svelte. That's not the case. And I probably, it's on me for not doing the research, really. And the doctor told me, I'll be kind of back to everything in about 3 months. But in my mind, I didn't really realize that it was going to take me so much time to just get back to. So that's been difficult for me. But what I've realized is that, through my research and what I'm experimenting with, is that number one, with this, I can't wait to feel great to do any. I have to kind of, through the discomfort of it not actually feeling good, to walk. And to be completely erect and to go back in the gym and to just do these things. There's a fine line between overdoing it, in my opinion, and for kind of pushing yourself into the zone of discomfort and ultimately making progress. And that's where I'm going to be for a while, probably. Going to the gym right now is not comfortable because form, my back is more erect, more stretched out with muscle and load. It doesn't feel that great. And I need to find the balance, but also need to stretch out more. Jogging does not feel great right now. It's not that it feels unstable, but it just doesn't feel, but I need to start doing it a little bit. That's how my body is going to build a little bit more. It's going to build a little bit more strength, a little bit more stability. So next, I kind of want to talk about the mental versus physical thing. I don't think that this surgery is hard physically. The most painful thing was the liposuction on my back. On the front though, my tummy tuck area, no, it's tight, yes, but it wasn't. But what was extremely difficult was the mental journey of this right here. Like, it was very depressing. It was super depressing, and I didn't expect that. I thought that I was going to be like, just kind of bounce back into it and I was going to feel good. It's been very tough of a mental journey, because on one side of things, your body is fighting to recuperate. You don't have a lot of it. On top of it, I went in and I was just like, oh, I'm going to look great, very soon after the surgery. I'm going to recover, and look great. What winds up happening is after the surgery, you start to get worse. Like, one, you don't look great because you were just cut open and you have a big surgery, a scar and all this kind of stuff. But then you start to swell. And then when you start to swell, you start to look really nice. You look worse, like I had like a muffin top because I was swollen so much. And it also feels really uncomfortable. And also, you can do very little. It feels very strange to go from capacity, doing CrossFit, all that kind of stuff, to not be able to do anything. That's very, very difficult to mind. And I think it could be easier, if I was surrounded by friends and family and stuff. Not doing that was very tough. Very, very tough being for the better part of it. And I didn't give that enough credit, like, at all. On top of that, I'm not working a ton right now by my own choice. And that, it's like I lost purpose. I lost my physical ability. I felt like I lost I couldn't even go out on dates, all that kind of stuff. Now I am. And those are going great. I'm having fun. But it was like I had nothing to do. All I could do was like play video. I listened to a lot of Spanish, but it was next. This is a little bit about general anesthetic. So I've done research after. Number one, I didn't know this. My massage therapist was the first one to tell me this, but she's like, yeah, a lot of people get depressed after surgery. And I was like, oh, no, not me. I'm good. I started getting really depressed. And then I started researching it. And after general, very, very common post-operative depression. And it could be due to, the lack of exercise and stuff like that. But I think with general anesthetic, from the research I've done, is that it does affect your brain chemistry, and that you need to give yourself some time to feel normal again, feel with it, to feel yourself. That depression that I was feeling through week 1 to 3 when it happened, she's like, I told you it would happen. So, I had to give myself some grace, but it was none. And on top of that, I've also looked at, general anesthetic and sleep problems, and it looks like there is a good community of people that have trouble sleeping after getting sleep problemfulness, which for me, I was like, I'm taking sleep medication to help right now, but I was waking up, I'd go to bed at like 10:30, 11, wake up at 4, wake up at 6. And just that like general wakefulness was really frustrating. I kind of felt like I was in this fog every single day, not with it, which probably didn't help to my mental state, but I think that's something that you need to know and be prepared. Massages are very important. They're very, very important. Brings me to, I've talked about it in a past video, but like why I think what I did which is to have surgery in a place like Colombia. So in the United States, first, my surgery, like the tummy tuck, probably cost me a third or fourth of what it would cost for somebody in the States. Next, I went to like the best surgeon in Colombia. My massage therapist was like, he is the best. And I saw that when I was in the operating room or the pre-op room, everybody looked up to this guy. He was the all-star, and he was so kind and so nice. But I went to like the best in the city, and it was like 3 to 4 times less than what it would be in the United States. You could get it cheaper, but I recommend don't mess around with that. I might actually make more videos on that in the future. But after too, like I had a nurse. It cost me like $80 for 124 hour. Way more. It's probably 3 to 4, if not more. And then I had a massage every single day, like an hour and a half. and that would cost me like $20. So I essentially probably spent $400 to $500 on getting lymphatic massages. If I did that in the US, every single one of those would have cost me, which would have been an extra $2,000 to $3,500 on top. So the costs and also the quality is exceptional. I was in Medellin, Colombia, which Medellin is known for a lot of things, but it also has some of the best plastic surgery in the world, which it's not really known. And it is a great option for doing your health. It is extremely high quality, and the doctors they're so on top of it. I read after my surgery, like I was on Reddit and I was reading what was happening for other people that were going through surgery with me, process. I was reading other people in the United States. I got to see, man, how bad the healthcare is in the United States. Like someone would have their surgery and the doctor wouldn't see them for like 3 to 4 weeks. I was being seen at least 2 times a week, sometimes 3 to 4 times a week after my surgery for a month. This doctor was so on the ball. Like my standard of care was so much higher than the average person. And I was able to have everything delivered to me. I was able to get massages every single day. Like anything that I needed was readily. And for that reason, I think I made an incredible decision. And, I know that the result is going to. So, the pictures that you saw are just the beginning. They say that you're not going to get an idea of what the final result might be like, which is a year out, 6 to 12 months out, until 3 months. So I'm still extremely early in the process, and I have to keep on remembering that. And, I'll continue to make update videos, probably maybe one at 2 months, and then one at 3 months, one at 6 months, 12 months. But it's a process. And the massage therapist who has no stake in, obviously telling me Eliza, she's like, he did such an incredible job. Number one, my scar, it was so small right from the start. And if you look at like the tummy tuck forums, if you look at people getting it, a lot of times their scars huge, like they're wide. A lot of people start to have openings in their scars. And that's a whole process. And mine has been so tiny since the start. It has been healing easily. I haven't had any issues. I was able to walk since day one. I've just been healing very rapidly, which one probably has to do with me being athletic, yes. But on top of that, I truly believe that this guy was incredible. My intuition, like when I saw him, something told me like, this is your guy. You have to go with him. And everybody else was a solid. So I'm probably going to end it here because we're going on my recording time, about 40 minutes. But I wanted to give a synopsis of everything that I've experienced and learned over the past month because, wow, I didn't expect all of this and I didn't really know what was coming. So I hope all of this was helpful to you. I will continue to post about it. Put some comments down below if you want to know specific things, questions. That way I can put it in my next video. Thanks for all watching. Just like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'll catch you soon, all right?